So welcome to tonight's webinar. It's time to start thinking about your personal statement, Insider Secrets from College Admissions Counselors, or Quad Education. If you don't know who we are and what Quad actually is we're an academic consultation firm dedicated to helping students improve their college profiles and increase their chances of acceptance at the country's top schools. What does that mean for you tonight? What does tonight look like? Well, obviously we have two wonderful speakers who are here to spend roughly between 45 minutes to an hour with us. We'll spend the first little bit, we'll go over the presentation itself with a ton of jam-packed knowledge, and we'll leave some time at the end for question and answers. So we highly recommend that you hold on to your questions until the end, drop them in the chat, and one of our panelists will make sure to get to them closer to the end of tonight's webinar. This webinar is recorded, which is awesome. So within a couple of days, you'll actually receive this recording in your email. Feel free to rewatch it. Feel free to share it with your friends, your family, other students who would find some value. We highly, highly encourage that as well. I don't think there's too much more for me to say other than to kind of go over our agenda real quick. So introductions, we'll go over what is a personal statement, why your personal statement is so important, this year's Common App and Coalition App personal statement prompts, strategies to choose your topic, structuring your personal statement, common pitfalls to avoid, and of course, that question and answer that we just talked about. And our two wonderful speakers. So we have Arianna, who is an admissions counselor at Dartmouth College, and Crystal, admissions counselor at Colorado State University. I know they can speak about themselves a little bit more than that, so I'm going to let both ladies kind of pop in here and introduce themselves.
Hello all. I'm Arianna Lee. I graduated from Dartmouth College with a degree in Neuroscience, and I was a Questbird Scholar. And I've helped many students like yourself navigate the fun and intense process of college admissions. So I love to dive into questions like this, get this all the time. How can we write the personal statement? So I'm just truly excited to get into this topic today with you, Crystal.
Super. I am equally excited. My name's Crystal Kapler. I'm a college admissions counselor with Quad Education and am living in Colorado, born and raised here. And I've coached and counseled and worked with top college students from around the country to help them successfully navigate and get accepted to prestigious scholarships, including Fulbright and Marshalls and Rhodes. I earned my Bachelor of Science in Corporate Finance and Leadership at Colorado State University and completed my Master's of Economics coursework and all of that covered by scholarships. So that is my passion point, helping students navigate the college process and do so economically and get into a group that's really meaningful for them and find their space to thrive. Now, I'm super passionate about helping students tell their own unique story, which is exactly what tonight is all about. So we will jump right in. So what is a personal statement? A personal statement is a short written statement, typically about a page in length, that serves as your opportunity to reveal your personality, your strengths, your values to colleges. It's typically one of two types of statements, either a general personal statement or a response personal statement. The general personal statement offers you ultimate flexibility. It allows you to discuss any topic that you choose, and it's really common in applications for fields like medicine or law. Now, a response personal statement is asking you to respond to a specific question or prompt. And the aim of that is to allow application readers to better understand you, and they ask questions about your values, your life experiences, your career aspirations, and it allows you to give some more specific detail to who you are and what makes you unique and special.
Awesome. And of course, the importance of a personal statement. I always tell students there is really no other portion of the application that gets across your personality and really allows the admissions officers to see you in a different light than just what your activities, your grades, and your letters of recommendation may show. But overall, the application is still that layer like an onion. So how can you differentiate yourself from other applicants? You really want to bring your personality through, and this is really being as you can be. You know, let that genuine personality show through creative storytelling, and of course, through your unique experiences that no one else is going to have. Hopefully not, unless you have an identical twin that does everything that you do. See how you'll fit in. Remember that the matching process, yes, you are applying to the school because you want to go there, but if this is a great opportunity within your personal statement to show those values, show what the school may be looking for. Really do research on the particular school that you're applying to and seeing how your background and your experiences kind of align to that. And ultimately seeing if you both are a fit together. And then, of course, assessing your potential. You want to see and show growth through your personal statement. Always looking at the STAR method: situation, task, action, result. That's an easy way to kind of keep that formatting together and really show your growth through the experience that you're planning to share within the personal statement. I know I talked fast.
Arianna, I love that you describe it as an onion and peeling back those layers, because that first layer that people see is your resume, your GPA, your scores. And as admissions counselors and admissions readers, we really want to know who you are and what makes you tick, what makes you excited, what makes you sparkle or shine. So peeling back that layer to get to the root of who you are. You might hear a quad counselor refer to that as a perspicacity score. And that just is referring to what makes you and your personality shine and be different than everyone else. So, personal statement prompts. And I know there's a lot of verbiage on this page. Feel welcome to take a screenshot of this if that's helpful to you. But we gathered together the personal statement prompts for this year, 2024 application cycle. And here are listed the Common App personal statement prompts. So one thing that I like to recommend or remind students to do is not to just stop at that first prompt, but go ahead and read through the entire list of possible options, because you want to find one that really resonates with you, that you feel like you can write the most compelling story to showcase who you are and what you've been working on or what you value. And this is a great way to just help you shine.
Absolutely. And remember, the prompts are just that. They're meant to prompt that inspiration of what you're trying to say, give you a direction of where to go. So if you do decide to do a essay topic of your choice, just be mindful that it is meant to spark that story that they're ultimately hoping to see within your personal statement. Just something, just remember if you're choosing that last option.
That's a great reminder, Arianna.
Awesome. And similar to the Common App, we have our Coalition App prompts. And like Crystal said, feel free to take a screenshot of the screen. And you'll see that some of the prompts may sound a bit similar. That's okay. That's what it's meant to, it's just ultimately meant for you to have that inspiration to tell your story. And again, that personality, how are you going to bring that personality out? What is the theme that you want to have your essay be? I will say that the Coalition App prompts do look a little bit, they look very identical to the Common App, right? Almost the exact same questions. So again, remember on that last question, submit an essay on a topic of your choice. Be mindful that you have a direction with the particular question that you choose for that prompt.
I would also say that you don't need to feel locked into just one prompt here. if you get started on a prompt and you're writing through and then you just feel stuck, go ahead and switch to a different prompt. Maybe write out some bullet points. We'll talk about structuring your personal statement next, but write down some bullet points for the couple prompts that most excite you, and then you can see what resonates and what you have the most to say about.
Absolutely.
So, some strategies to choose your topic. We already mentioned reading through all the possible options to see what excites you. But as you're thinking through which topic you're going to choose, try to understand what the admissions officers are looking for. And that's really something that brings your application and your personality to a spark, a vibrancy, to say, oh, I read Arianna's resume and her GPA is strong and her activities are really great and interesting, but I want to know more about her. So this is a great way to expand all of the materials that you're submitting to a college and add some more dimension, add some depth, add some personality. Also, reflect on your experiences, your passions, your goals. It's okay to take some time and reflect on your life, reflect on some moments that have been really joyous or celebratory, reflect on some moments that have been really hard or challenging, and see what sort of story arcs come to mind to tell the story that you're looking to share. And go ahead and brainstorm some ideas. Make a long list of bullet points of things that you could possibly talk about. Chat with your parents, your family members. Ask them if they remember a time that relates to one of the prompts that you're interested in, and they might offer another perspective or another avenue to this story to really flesh it out. And then select a compelling and unique topic. It is going to be unique based on who you are, and it should be specific enough that someone can read it and say, oh, this doesn't apply to every John and Jane Smith out there, but it applies specifically to you, the application writer, as a student.
Awesome. Absolutely. And I love that you mentioned brainstorming with your parents. That is something that students don't think to do. They like to take the challenge on their own, but I think it's so important to talk and discuss with those who know us the best, right? And there are things that we might overlook, moments that, that we forget about, that could very well spark and rejog that idea for us. That could be the winning idea or the idea that you end up choosing for your personal statement. And then another thing too, I just wanted to add is your personal statement idea or topic does not have to be sad. That is, you don't have to make it a horrible event that has, and hopefully that has not happened to you all. I don't want, that to have been the case. But it does not have to be negative to stand out. It has to be genuine. I just know that might be a common misconception with some students that they have to put a sad story or some momentous event has to be considered negative. It can be positive, wonderful events that have also happened that have truly changed our perspective as well.
That's a really great reminder, Arianna. Are there some topics that you've come across in your time as an admissions rep that have been really compelling, that just stand out in your memory as like, wow, that was a really interesting story, and to this day you remember it?
Absolutely. Volunteering. Their students have written about their personal experiences with volunteering and how that's just transformed, moments for them at that time that they didn't realize could have this transformative experience to them. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be negative. It could be an idea. It could be a laboratory research experiment that you were working on, and you had that aha moment. It could be having a little sister, a new sibling. It could be, so many wonderful moments that can happen in someone's life.
That's awesome. And one that stands out to me personally is I read a wonderful essay from a student about her making fudge with her grandmother and how it was just this family tradition baked in all the richness of their traditions, and that quality time came through. The values that the student had really shone through that essay, and it was so positive and yet about something that might have been considered mundane, but the richness that she added to that essay really showed some depth and character in her values. I've also read some great ones about volunteerism and research. So it really can be anything across the board that is meaningful to you.
That is wonderful. Wow, fudge. The sense is already going. Structuring your personal statement. So some important things to remember while structuring your personal statement, really make sure that you are identifying your central theme by providing a brief overview of what you will be discussing in your personal statement. This intro paragraph has to be, that's the attention getter, right? So we really want to make sure that you are focusing on how to, one, grab your reader's attention, but you're also introducing the important elements that are going to be reflected through the rest of your essay in this introductory paragraph. So this is, like what you just mentioned about making fudge with her grandmother. I can only imagine how that introductory paragraph was. Maybe the wafting sense of the aroma in the air within the kitchen, as the sky's the limit, right? But we just really want to grab that attention in the intro for us.
Absolutely. And a lot of students do that with the five senses, or invoking as many of those as possible, just like you're saying, pulling in the sights, the smells, the sounds, the feeling of whatever it is they're trying to describe.
Absolutely.
And then next we have our body paragraph. So you have all, I'm sure, have been in some lit classes or composition classes. You know how to structure an essay. So this might be a little bit of review, but it's important stuff because this is what guides a reader through that arc, that storyline that you're trying to tell. So you want to make sure that your essay is divided into a couple of paragraphs. Each of those have their own topic sentence, and they're introducing a new idea or facet to the story that you're trying to tell. And use some really specific details that illustrate your points. So make it something that conjures the image to the person who's reading it as someone who's never experienced that before. It can be talking about beekeeping, and I've never been a beekeeper as a reader, but I want to feel that emotion and maybe that anticipation, that nervousness, that excitement that you are feeling as the author of this personal statement. So put us right in that situation with your specific details and examples. And then use some really strong transition sentences so that there's a really nice flow from beginning to end that just guides us as the reader through that story and makes us want to read the next paragraph and the next.
Absolutely. So, and conclusion, ending with a conclusion paragraph that, you don't want to necessarily reiterate everything that has happened, but you do want to culminate. What did you learn? What was the ultimate result? This is what should at least be coming across in the conclusion if it hasn't already been done. And just reiterating again, that central theme. This paragraph is the lasting impression for the reader. And for the admissions officers, they're getting a ton of essays, right, that they're going through. So you want to get their attention in the intro, keep their attention through the middle, and then leave them with that, wow, this just how the fudge story left that impression on you. That's how we want all the essays to come across to the admissions officers. That lasting impression. Wow, this student has great grades, great letters of recommendation, great extracurriculars, and wow, now I've learned even more about them through this personal essay. That's what we want to leave them with.
Absolutely. And next, we'll talk about some common pitfalls and how to avoid them. So as we've alluded to, as admissions reps and reviewers of applications, we read through hundreds of thousands of applications, and we start to hear some of the same things over and over. And it's really important that your personal statement, shines and highlights not only the best things about you, but you as a storyteller, and gives depth and breadth to who you are. So we want to help you avoid some of the things that make reviewers just start to skim through or get gloss eyes as they're reading through an application, so that they want to read that entire story arc from hook at the intro to through all of the nuances of your personal statement and get to that conclusion and have a really clear picture of who you are and what you have to offer their university. So one of the most common pitfalls I see all the time is using generic or cliche statements. And we're all guilty of this in our own lives. My family jokes that I'm the queen of misused common phrases, but cliches are cliche for a reason. It's because they're overused and they've been said and written so many times that they start to lose the spark that they had when they were first creative. It's often poetry that's been used over and over and over, and we all know what it means, but you could definitely say something in a more powerful way. So up here we have a couple examples of just a generic type of statement or a cliche type of statement, and then how we would end up revising that, or how we recommend a student would revise that to give it that spark and give it that specificity and those details that bring the reader right to that place in time. Of course, remaining within word limits. And I realize our revised versions are a little bit more wordy, so you can always play with that. But it's really important to help your work seem and feel authentically original and differentiate you from other applications by being specific and not using those general cliche statements.
Absolutely. And just looking at the generic to the revised, you get a full sense of imagery. Like we talked about earlier, the 5 senses, putting that into your writing so that the reader can fully feel your nervousness, your anxiety, the feeling of potential failure on the first one, the impact of your grandfather. And we want to feel your story truly through and through.
It definitely helps to get a peek into who you are.
Awesome. Okay. So another common pitfall and how to avoid them: overuse of thesaurus or fancy words. So although, you might want to put every SAT word that that you've been studying and memorizing, if it is not yet a part of your normal language, or if this is not how you normally talk or write, then it's going to sound that way to the admissions officers as well. It's going to sound out of place. Unless you have made it be a part of your normal vocabulary, we would rather you avoid using those, what's the right verbiage for it?
Essentially overly complex language.
Yes.
Use language that's original to you and sounds maybe colloquial. It's how you would speak to someone, but maybe just a little bit elevated, but not over the top to the point where it sounds rote and like you literally had your thesaurus here and you're not sending them. We want it to feel very authentic and to feel like something that you would naturally use when you're telling a story.
Absolutely. And also remember, the admissions officers are going to look for that, your genuine personality to come across. And that's going to be harder to do so when you're using these complex words. They're reading a ton of applications. You want to get straight to the point. Have your, let your idea be very clear. Don't try and put in as much as you can to try and sound like someone that you are not, because you think that is what the admissions officers want. They want the genuine you, and that's what you'll have to give them. And then also remember, you are trying to stand out amongst these other applicants, and using clunkier words or fancier words is not necessarily going to be the difference maker. Your personality is.
You're so right. Absolutely. Another common pitfall is your tone. Using a negative tone can really bring down a personal statement. And I want to be clear that even if you're writing about something that's challenging or something that was a negative or difficult situation, you can still reframe that situation with very factual, here's what happened, and then here's what I'm taking away from it. Here's how I'm growing from that experience. So you want to avoid things that leave a bad impression on the admissions committee by leaving them thinking that you're just a negative person all the time, because they only get one tiny snapshot. And it might be the case that you're the most positive, optimistic person in the world, and the topic you chose happened to be something challenging. You don't want that to bring down their whole perception of who you are as a person on the day-to-day. And the reverse of that, you don't have to be trite about it. You can be genuine, and I recommend, and you should be genuine in your tone, but always frame your writing in a way that shows what the positive outcomes were of any situation, whether it was a positive situation to begin with, and here's the positive outcome, or the lessons that you learned from that. Focus on optimistic language and avoid complaining or criticizing others, especially. I've seen some personal statements where students will go into depth, criticizing a family member or their little brother or sister that was giving them a hard time. And it just rubs a reader the wrong way, because we want to get to know who you are, and we want you to shine as the best possible version of yourself. So even if you're annoyed with your little brother or sister while you're writing your personal statement, try not to let that seep into the great writing that you're doing.
Absolutely. And definitely one to avoid. Do not exaggerate or lie in anywhere of your application. That is not good to do. Do not do it. Make sure to be authentic. Remember, the admissions officers want to know the genuine you. Lying has severe consequences, like rescinding or revoking your admission even after you're admitted. It's not good to do. Present yourself honestly, and you can build that genuine connection with the reader by doing so. And the way that you come across authentic is by writing how you normally would write. I would say not, and also talk. That doesn't necessarily mean to be grammatically incorrect or anything like that. It just means, speak in the normal language that you normally would speak. Would talk in, and also brainstorming and talking through the experiences that only you have experienced is also another way to genuinely stand out from the crowd. No one else is going to have the same experiences as you. And the admissions officers want to know those particular experiences, not the copy and paste versions of anything that you read or seen online that included admitted students. Don't try and mimic already admitted students' essays or work. That's not good. And you never know. They can find that information out very easily, just as easily as you found it.
Absolutely. And to that point, I would recommend you stay away from trying to look up examples of essays that have been written about specific topics, because it's really hard to separate that in your brain from then your own authentic story. We keep talking about being authentic, and there's a reason to it. We want you to come across as the best version of you. And like we said, you can do that with language. You can do that with the story that you're telling and how you frame what you learned from that experience or the value that you took away from that experience. But it's really important to show up as your whole self. And when I say your whole self, it's your whole best self. You can leave, some of the language that you use with your friends and maybe trade that out for language that you would use when you're talking to a mentor or a teacher or someone that you both respect and want them to respect you. So the best version of yourself, putting that version of you forward.
Absolutely.
One of the other common pitfalls that we see is lack of proofreading. Errors make it really difficult for the reader to understand what you're trying to say. It's important that you take the time to proofread and edit your personal statement and ensure that it's free from errors, that it communicates your message clearly and succinctly and effectively. We want your essay and your work and who you are to shine through, and that's not going to happen if there's spelling mistakes or grammatical mistakes, or just punctuation issues. Those can be really distracting as a reader. And honestly, I've talked to some application readers who will just throw out an application when they see an error because it communicates that you haven't taken the time to first do the work, but then review it. And we want to know that you are submitting something that you're really proud of, that you're willing to share as the best version of yourself. So it should be error-free, and you can do that in a couple of ways. How to combat this is using some tools to check for errors. Grammarly is a great one. I have that running all the time, whether it's on emails or text messages or presentations, something that helps you just proof automatically is going to cut down on mistakes. And then also have someone else review your work and provide some feedback. It can be a parent or a mentor or a teacher. If they're willing to spend the time to read through your statement and your application as a whole, that would be a wonderful gesture. And I hope that if they take the time to do that, that you show the utmost appreciation, because it's really, truly helpful to have that outside perspective. And who knows, they might offer some feedback to make your application even better. And, barring that, take the time to read it out loud. Often I find that when students are writing, they're in such a get words down on the page type of mode that their brain sort of edits the page for them without it actually being correct on the page. And so taking the time to print out your work or just read it out loud, sentence by sentence, will help you prevent your own errors from making it to that final draft version.
Absolutely. Doing multiple rounds of revision and also getting, you can also get different perspectives for how something sounds. That way you can see the readability and the flow, and if your message is coming through how you intended it to come through.
I love that. Readability and flow too. It's so important. By speaking it out loud, you can hear, does it read smoothly, or is there maybe a disconnect between one paragraph and the next?
Absolutely. I love reading things out loud. I realize that I need to correct it. Once you're able to hear it back yourself, you're like, oh wait, that's not what I meant to say. Let me rephrase that. Q&A. Any questions? Please drop into the chat. We do have one. From the various essays, personal statements you have come across, what topics stand out more than others by school type? I think we went through that. And then the slides, whether the slides will be provided. I do believe they send out the slides after.
Yeah, slides should be provided afterwards. Does anyone have any other questions about personal statements? Do you have a topic that you're maybe considering, wondering if that's an appropriate topic?
We have another one. Use of Grammarly ChatGPT. Is it okay to use, or will you get penalized for this? I would avoid using ChatGPT. Because even if you enter it to do editing for even like grammar, you would have to be mindful that it is not rephrasing your entire word, all of your words. So that is something that you'd have to be mindful of, because then that's not becoming your own work anymore. That is then, I don't want to say a form of plagiarism. It's not authentic anymore.
That's a wonderful point. And I did recommend Grammarly, but it's important to note that I have mine and you can set yours to just editing, without not editing mode, but the sort of Microsoft Word spell check version of Grammarly, where it's going through and just pointing out grammar or spelling errors. It shouldn't be rewriting sentences for you, because that is how you end up finding words that are not your own.
Very true.
I see. Do we need to run it against an AI checker to make sure it doesn't highlight an alarm?
I wouldn't do that.
I would not. No. You should not be writing through AI to begin with. AI is a super powerful tool and not a topic for today. In terms of writing college applications, right? It can be useful, but not in this space, because this space, college admissions, is where you as a student want to show up as you, doing the authentic work that you do. As readers, we want to hear your words, your thoughts, your story. And if you're using AI, that is not you. It's not even human.
And it's easier than you would think to detect what is AI, because it starts to repeat words that you typically would not use. It doesn't sound authentic to your normal language and how you talk. It doesn't come across genuine. That's what I should say.
I was gonna say, I imagine you've had a similar experience, but I've read essays that I can tell are written by AI. Mm-hmm. And I would say that any application reviewer out there are able to tell when it's been written by AI. And this year we had one student writing an essay for a college application that had a really fascinating prompt. The prompt was from an honors college within a university that the student was applying to. And the prompt literally asked for the student to craft an essay response through an AI platform, and then write their own essay on why that did or did not capture their unique perspective. And that was just a really interesting exercise for the student. We had some great conversation about how AI doesn't capture the examples and the specific details and the emotions behind whatever their topic was at the time.
Absolutely. We have another one. Do you suggest motivating your child to tackle the essay over the summer? And can we take a draft of a personal statement and run it through a tool to kind of gauge level of excellence? We'll start with the first one. Do you suggest motivating your child to tackle the essay over the summer?
I would say yes, absolutely. I would not recommend them starting, right now, today, for a fall application cycle, because you don't want to get to the point where an essay has been so revised and reframed and rethought of that you can almost edit the personality out of an essay by starting this early. I've seen that happen a number of times, but starting over the summertime when they're not taking classes and they have a little bit more mental capacity to handle the essay and think through some really great topics would be perfect, because as soon as that fall cycle of classes it starts to get really busy between applications and essays and short essay response questions for specific universities, as well as scholarship applications. It just starts to be a lot on top of classes. So doing as much of the application process over the summer before senior year is super helpful.
Absolutely. I would also agree with that. And the summertime is the best time to kind of sit down with family, kind of also brainstorm together, make it a fun, explorative process for yourself. Writing a personal statement, I know when I wrote mine, it was therapeutic. It's going through and kind of just dealing with everything that, of life and being able to write it all out. That is very therapeutic in my mind, at least. So take the time to just really enjoy the process. I know it's always stressful when we think of college applications, but I don't want you all to think that way. Think of it as a fun and explorative process for yourself.
Absolutely. And starting early helps keep it manageable and keep it fun.
Absolutely. Any more questions?
I'm not seeing any on my side of the chat here, but we're happy to take any more.
Okay, I do see one. Well, congratulations to you, Ola, for getting into your PhD. I see that in the chat in the UK.
Oh, nice. Congratulations.
Nice.
That will be a really fun experience. I've known a number of people who've gone through their higher level education overseas, had a really great time.
Awesome.
Wonderful. Well, if that's all the questions, we'll make sure that this PowerPoint goes out to you. Thank you so much for showing up and learning as much as you can to make it through this season of applications. We wish you all the very best of luck in your college pursuits, and hopefully we'll get to see you on the coaching side of Quad Consulting. Otherwise, have a wonderful day and look out for our future sessions.
Awesome. Thank you all.